Hi, I'm Anne from Game Like a Mother. I specialize in games that can be played in 20 minutes or less, and these are my top 10 games that are modern classics for any family. When people find out that I have a board game channel, they talk about games with me, and these are the games that people are most often excited to tell me about because they are the games that are really popular once you've moved on from Monopoly or Settlers of Catan and have discovered the many new games that are available. These are the ones. These are not the longer options. Azul and Carcassonne are not on this list, although they are excellent games. These are all games that can be played in 20 minutes or less. I have all the games listed in the description of the video, along with a timestamp if you want to skip to a particular one. And I also have links to any of the how to play videos I've created for these games as well. So let's get started. First up, we have Ticket to Ride. It is a game in which you are trying to earn the most points by claiming routes between different cities. You do that by collecting cards, and then when you have enough of the same color that match the route you're trying to claim, you can play them down and put your little trains on the route. You can also win points by completing destination tickets, which you have secret cards where you're trying to connect a certain city to another one further along on the map, and once you get those connected, you get points for that. And I know what you're thinking, that this is not a 20-minute game. It is if you get one of the city versions that they've come out with. It is all the fun of standard Ticket to Ride, but in a 20-minute version of the game. And as of right now, there are 4 different versions out, and they all have just little unique aspects to them that vary the gameplay just a little bit, but are still very easy and simple to understand. In San Francisco, you're trying to collect tourist tokens in addition to completing your destination cards and claiming routes. In the London version, you're connecting districts together and you get bonus points for that. In Amsterdam, you are going back to the 1700s, and then there are merchandise bonus tokens you can collect. And then finally, in New York City, surprise, surprise, tourist attractions are what get you additional points. But there are so many different versions of Ticket to Ride out there, which is just really fun. And you need to have a city version so you have a compact, easy one that you can fit in even on a busy night. Next up, we have Sushi Go, which is just a little card game in which you are trying to get the highest scoring hand based on the sushi that you are collecting. And this is your introduction to drafting. All you do is everyone's dealt out a hand of cards. You look at your cards, you pick one, put it down in front of you, so it's for you from now on. Then you pass that hand of cards around. You get the cards from your neighbor. You pick one from them, put it down. You keep on doing that. And you're trying to get the highest scoring hand that you can. You're drafting things like tempura, sashimi, nigiri, and wasabi. It's very simple. The scoring, kids do well with this, but adults like playing this game too, which is a pretty easy niche, and it's just really portable and easy to bring along. This is also your introduction to Phil Walker Harding games. He does a lot of really wonderful, accessible board games that play well for a wide variety of people, and we love a lot of his games, but this one actually isn't my personal favorite. I like it okay, but I really prefer some of his others, especially Super Mega Lucky Box is like strategic bingo, and so it's based on something kind of familiar, but it's just so fun and easy and satisfying to play. But pick any of the Phil Walker Harding games, and we've yet to find one that we don't absolutely love. Next, we have Qwixx, which is a perfect little dice game in which you are trying to get the most points, and you do that by you roll the dice, and you have a score sheet where there are 4 different colors, 4 different rows, 4 different colors that you're trying to mark off from left to right, and the trick is, whatever you mark off, if you mark off like a 5 red in one row, if the next time somebody rolls a 4 red, it comes up that you could mark off, it's too late. You've gone past that spot on the score sheet, so you can't ever go back. You just march on until you're able to close out a few rows, and then the game's over. Whoever has the most points wins. And We love Qwixx. There's a lot of people that just have to order, repeat, get more of the score sheets. You need to laminate those score sheets. You're going to go through them. It gets played a bunch. It's just, we've had it for years and we still are excited to get it out and play it. And this one, if you like Qwixx, I would also recommend checking out Bloom. It is a similar dice game, but with a slightly different theme and a strategy to it. It's garden themed. And it's interesting because I do really well at Qwixx. And when I'm playing with my family, I generally lose at Bloom. The strategy is just a little different and I don't do as well. So my family loves playing Bloom with me. So just pick your nice little dice game that works for your family. We really enjoy both. Next up, we have Codenames, which is a secret word game in which you're in teams, and on each team, somebody is getting to give clues to the secret words on a grid that they're trying to get their team to guess. And you're just trying to beat the other team into getting your team to guess all of your words. And the trick is you're only allowed to, for your clues, you give a number and a word, and that's it. So you have your grid in front of you, you see the words you're trying to get to have them guess, and you might say, oh, sports 3. And then they say, okay, I think it's ball and this and maybe this other thing. And you just go through taking turns giving clues until someone's either gotten all of the words they were supposed to guess, or you lose immediately if you somebody guesses the word that is on the spot where there's the assassin spot. Then the game's over, that team loses, and the other team wins instantly. So it's just a really fun twist on a word game. There's a ton of different versions out there now. There's pictures, Harry Potter, Disney, Marvel, and I'd like to put a plug in for Codenames Duet. Is a fully cooperative two-player game. You can play it with more, but it's ideal for two-player. And as a thing to do with somebody else who also really likes word games, it's perfect because it is a bit more challenging than regular Codenames, but you have different missions that you can go on. There's a map that you're doing missions around the world, and each destination you go to, they have different numbers of guesses you're allowed to, clues you're allowed to give versus wrong answers. And so it varies and it changes up your strategy and it just makes the game fresh and interesting every time you play. But this is a standout. If you like word games, you like Codenames. Next up, we have Splendor, in which you take on the role of a rich merchant during the Renaissance. And you are trying to win by having the most points or money. And you do that by collecting gems, which then allow you to purchase development cards, and those development cards have points on them and generally a picture of a gem as well. And so you build your engine so you can buy more things. So you start at the lowest row where you're buying the cheap cards, then you get where you can afford the middle row, and then by the time you're being able to buy stuff from the top row, the game's practically over because you have a lot of points. This game is a little bit longer than 20 minutes. If you want an easy way to make it faster, you just deal each player 1 or 2 development cards at the beginning, and so they already have a couple gems. You've built their engine a little bit, and it's amazing how much that helps to make it into a 20-minute game. This is incredibly popular. They also have a Marvel version of this, and they recently came out with Splendor Duel, which is specifically a 2-player version of this game, which is fantastic. I would get standard Splendor first and play that. But then after you've played that a bit, Splendor Duel ups the strategy just a little bit. They've added a few different game elements. And so it's still the heart of Splendor, but you have much more interesting decisions to make because of the different elements they've added in. But it's just a perfect gaming system and is a new modern classic. Next up, we have Exploding Kittens, the original card game. In this game, you are just trying to be the last person standing as you're going through a deck of cards and trying to not explode, because there's an exploding card that'll pop up And if you can't defuse the bomb, then you're out of the round. It's really simple but really fun to play. It has all sorts of special abilities like getting to steal cards from other people, see the future, see what cards are coming ahead in the pile, make somebody else draw an extra couple of cards. So there's a lot of action and things going on while being very simple. We had this game before we had kids, and a lot of their other offerings now, the Exploding Kittens has become a publishing company, and they make a lot of really fun, silly games. And many of them are very geared for adults as well. But really, in general, if you know somebody that has a child ages 7 and up, I would, and you're getting them a gift, I would go and get whatever the newest Exploding Kids game offering is at Target or whatever box store you go to, because they have gems like Throw Burrito, Hand to Hand Wombat, which was the big hit of the 10-year-old birthday party we recently threw. That's what the kids wanted to play. They have really loud librarians, so they just have a whole host of options. You can start with the original, but I would recommend checking out the rest. Next, we have Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, because you need a good speed game, and kids just become obsessed with this one. In this game, you're flipping out cards and saying the name of the game over and over again, and if the word you say matches with the card that is out in the middle, then everyone slaps. And in this game, it just matters whoever is the last person gets the cards. And then they start it off again, and you keep on going by saying the name of the game. Kids go nuts over this game. We have a number of speed games. This is the one that my boys want to play with me on repeat. It has some fun specialty moves where you have to do a narwhal horn and then slap if the narwhal card comes up. Gorilla, you beat your chest and then slap it. And then groundhog, where you beat the table. And then you have to slap the pile. So it just seems to hit the nail on the head for what appeals to kids. And I like this because it seems slightly more gentle or forgiving, especially in a group where you just have to not be last to feel like you're doing okay. If you're sometimes not last, then you do okay in this game. So it doesn't seem like there's as many hurt feelings as there are in other speed games. And it's incredibly popular, and there are a ton of other versions. So you get into this, they'll enjoy the other versions. They have different wild cards or specialty cards. There's a Santa Cookie Elf Candy Snowman version that we own that was a hit around the holidays. And there's a Halloween version, Easter version. On the flip side, has some different rules. So this is the new go-to speed game, and you should check it out. Next up, we have Monopoly Deal. A lot of people who play Monopoly with their families, I would say to them, ooh, have you heard of this other option, Monopoly Deal? And more the response has been, yes, we have that game and we love that game. I have seen this in so many places. I was at our local pharmacy a little while ago, and it was sitting on a shelf there. So Monopoly Deal is very available. And the goal of the game is just a set of cards, and it says on the box you can play in 15 minutes. And you are trying to be the first to have 3 Monopolies played out on the table in front of you. And this isn't any nicer than a game of Monopoly, but it's faster, and that's what makes the difference. You still have a lot of the same gameplay. You can make people pay rent. You can steal properties from other people in this game. You can, if they can't pay rent, then you just take their properties like you do in regular Monopoly. So it's the same feel, but it's fast, and there's more of an opportunity for 2 people to be really close to, ooh, my next turn, I'm probably going to win. So you have nail-biter endings as opposed to the more long, drawn-out endings that happen in standard Monopoly. Well, if you like this, now at Target, Monopoly Bid is the version of the card game version of Monopoly they have readily available. And it is quite a bit simpler than Monopoly Deal. You are still trying to get to 3 sets of Monopolies, but they've taken out a lot of the specialty cards. There's just a really simple bidding process to collect properties, and it's okay. It's ideal if you have a group of kids that want to be able to play a simple card game that they can teach friends and play really quickly and handle completely on their own, but it's not as much of a full-fledged Monopoly experience. But it has a place if you need it. We were at a robotics competition and a bunch of kids were happily playing a game of Monopoly Bid together because it was easy. There was a lot of stuff going on and they could play it, but pick whatever works best for your group and get your Monopoly on in 15 minutes or less. Next up, we have Wits and Wagers, which is the new go-to trivia game in which you don't have to be particularly good at trivia to enjoy playing the game. You try to win the most points, and you win points by when a trivia question is asked, everyone writes down an answer, and then they place them out on the board in a lineup, and after that, you get to bet on what you think the correct answer is, and you do not have to bet on your own guess. If you just were winging it, you didn't really know, and oh, you guessed something happened in the early 1800s and all these other people are putting something around 1920 or so, maybe you'll bet on one of those instead. And whoever is the closest without going over to the date or the amount, that's the winning answer. And so it's pretty quick to get up and running, really fun to play. If you want something that's a good social game, but with just it's even a bit simpler than this, I would highly recommend Blank Slate. Blank Slate is a game in which you just fill in the blank, whatever the missing word is, and you're trying to think alike with somebody else. And so if you have if your answer matched with somebody else, that's how you get points for the game. So you need a good social game, and I would highly recommend either of those games. And finally, we have One Night Ultimate Werewolf. My things have changed since I was a kid, and you would play assassin at the campfire in the summer, and someone would try to secretly wink at people to take them out, and you'd have to figure out who the assassin was. Now there is a full-fledged board game with all sorts of cool roles where you have villagers, werewolf, minion, seer, robber, troublemaker, hunter, and a few other things, and everyone has specific abilities or things that they do, and it becomes nighttime and everybody does stuff when their name's called. There's a free app that has a guy guiding you through what you're supposed to do and who does what, and then it gets to the morning and you're supposed to decide to vote out whoever you think the werewolf might be, and that's how the villager team wins, and the werewolf wins if they don't get voted out, and you play it for a few rounds. We don't actually do very well at this game. It's very open-ended. When we've played it as with families or with friends, it gets to daytime and you don't really know what to do. There isn't a script, just decide who you're going to vote out. And it seems like many people love this game and have no problem with that. We always struggled because we didn't really know what to say. And I talked to some friends who love this game, and they said if you just go around and have each person announce what their role is, that's a really good starting point, because the werewolf will lie and say, oh, I'm a seer. And so then that can help you have something to at least start with to start the discussion. And many people have no problem and really enjoy this game. For us, we really enjoy, from the same publishing company, they have Werewords, which is for those of us that need just a little more guidance with our secret roles. You have a lot of the same roles in this game, but you're trying to guess a secret word by the end of a certain amount of time, and the seer knows what the secret word is and is trying to guide the villager team to it. The werewolf also knows what the secret word is and is trying to get it so nobody guesses the secret word, and there's options at the end depending on what happens to vote different people out. So that gave it a little more structure for us, the concept, and is one of our favorite games that we like to play at Thanksgiving with family. But it is a great game concept, and they have a few other options, but Daybreak and other options besides that out there for the werewolf world of games, which you should absolutely check out. So that's it for my top 10 modern classics that would work in every family's house. If people say they like to play board games with their family, I would expect to find at least a handful of these at their house, because these games are just so great for providing quality time and memories with your family, and these ones in particular from this list are just fan favorites, seem to be universally enjoyed. So hopefully you found one or two new ones to try out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time from Game Like a Mother.